So in the previous videos, we have solved three equations involving only cosine. For sine, it's a little bit different. So now we want to do this W. So we want to solve this equation. So it's negative 10. So it's negative 10 sine of x minus 1 equals negative 3. Okay? Just like before, we want to solve first for sine of x, and then when we have sine of x by itself, we can make the arc sine of x. Okay? So step by step. The first thing is whatever it has been added or subtracted to sine of x, which is this time is negative 1. So we're going to do plus 1 to each side of the equation, which is what is going to happen is that the negative 1 and the plus 1 is going to cancel in this side, but it's going to add on the other side, right? So negative 3 plus 1, it's going to be negative 2, okay? And then the negative 1 in this side disappears, and then negative 10 sine of x, correct? Okay, then the next thing we must do is divide over negative 10 both sides, right? So if we divide negative 10 here, this is going to cancel out. And then we're going to have sine of x. This negative 10, it's actually going down dividing. So it's negative 2 over negative 10. Okay? Now when we have a negative and a negative dividing, we can kill both of them. Okay? Okay, so we have that sine of x equals 2 over 10. Sine of x equals 2 over 10. Great. Now, what's the next thing we have to do here? As we said before, we must do the arc sine, right? Both sides. When we do the arc sine both sides, what we're going to have is the arc sine and the sine, they're going to cancel out. And it's the same thing as the sine of this sine goes to the other side as arc sine of 2 over 10, right? Great. So the next step, we're going to take the calculator. Okay. I'm going to clear whatever we had before. And we're going to do it in degrees. So we press mode, we change to degrees. And after that, we're gonna do arc sine, which is the same as the inverse of sine, of 2 over 10. And we have a really small angle, okay? It's in degrees. So our solution is gonna be 11.53 degrees. Okay. Now we usually know that we have two solutions, right? Because if we think of a sine function, it behaves like this, right? So when a line crosses, we know that we have actually always two sets of solutions. So this one is might be this one, right? But if we think about if we think about the axis being here, okay. So this would be the first one, but then what about the next one, right? How can I find the next solution? And it's in cosine, it was really easy for cosine because there was a really right away symmetry, right? But with this, we must think a little bit more. I want to show you a website that I think can help you very much understand how this works. Let's see if you can see properly. In here, yeah, now you can see properly. So actually, it's called Math is Fun. Okay, it's a website that helps you very much with math. And if we take the finger, this angle will move. Okay, now as you can see here, we have the numbers in we have cosine, sine, and tangent for whatever angle we have right now in here. So now we have a 52-degree angle, and this is the cosine, the sine, and the tangent. But the interesting part here is that you actually see the sine, the cosine, and the tangent graphed here on the unit circle. The radius is 1. This is a unit circle, so the radius is 1. So look, this is a little bit more than a half, right? 0.6. Well, this is much more than a half, would be almost 0.8, right? As I move, right, if I make actually this really close to 90 degrees, right, we see that the sine is 1 and the cosine is 0, right? So again, the green is the sine, the blue is the cosine, and then the red here is the tangent. Correct? So now we have an angle of 11 degrees. So if I go down to 11 degrees, we have that the sine would be 0.19, which is actually really close to 0.2, and actually 2/10 is 0.2. So so that's what we have. Now we have to think where in the unit circle we're gonna have again a sine that is 0.2 again. So if we move that way, here you see that the sine is negative. So none of these angles, right? None of these angles is gonna give us a sine of 0.2. If we keep moving, the sine here is also negative because it's below 0. But if I keep going, right, now I have exactly this well, this is below 0.2, but if I go a little bit further, if I go to 170, sorry, less, right? So now, so it's between 168 and 169, because if I go to 168, it's over 0.2. If I go to 169, it's below 0.2. So that means that it's between 0.68, so 168 and 169, right? So again, I know that the solution is going to be 168 point something, right? Now, can we solve this without using this technique, this graphing technique? For sure we can. Let me show you. Just let's think a little bit, okay? So, as we said before, we have here an angle of 11 degrees, right? The sine is vertical, right? This is the sine, which is green, okay? Using the same colors as the website. So now, look, let's think about which other angle is going to give us a similar sine. So let's see if we try to be a little bit correct on this. We try to look at the same height on the other side, where the sine will still be positive. Here we have a similar sine, right? So this angle here will have the same sine. So what is this angle? Look, this angle is all the angle, right? This angle. And now let's think, how much is this angle? Well, if half a full circle, which is this, right? This is a semicircle. How many degrees do we have inside of a semicircle? Mick? Let's ask Mick. which we have here, mic. So a full circle is how much? 2 pi. Well, yeah, 2 pi is in radians, but what about in degrees? Degrees, 180. Yes, 180. So a semicircle would be 180. Now, if you see the symmetry here, if this is equal to this, that means that this is also 11 degrees, right? So if we think how much is this, we know that this angle plus this angle must be 180. So that means that if we take 180 and we subtract 11, we're gonna get this here, right? So if we take, it's actually 11.53, right? So we take the calculator, okay, and we do 180 minus 11.53, and what we get is 168.47. That's it. Okay, so that's the second solution that we have, so that we actually guessed already, right? So it's 168.47. Okay, but again, are these the only solutions? No, because every time we add to any, this would be 11, right? In here, this would be 11.53. This would be 168.47, right? Every time we add 360, we're gonna get, right, to the same solution. So we still have to add all solutions by adding 360 times n plus 360 times n, right? Where n belongs to the integers. Again, n can be -5, can be 1200, or it can be 0, right? Any whole number, negative or positive, and 0. Okay? So on the next video, we're gonna solve it in radians and graphically.